There was a moment in childhood that decided everything. It wasn't a birthday, it wasn't the first day of school, and it wasn't something adults talked about, but every kid in America knew it. Because when it happened, you didn't ask questions. You didn't negotiate. You didn't need an explanation. You just knew the day was over. You didn't check a watch. Most of us didn't have one yet. You didn't wait for a parent to call your name. Half the time, they didn't have to. You looked down the block, and when the street lights came on, you went home. Most people remember the games. They remember bikes. They remember baseballs rolling into the street. They remember running, shouting, laughing. But very few people remember the moment that ended it all. That moment didn't make noise. It didn't announce itself. But it stayed with us longer than anything else. Summer days in America used to feel different. Not better, not easier, just longer. They didn't come with schedules. Nobody talked about being busy. Morning happened, then afternoon, then evening, and nobody rushed any of it. You woke up because sunlight came through the window, not because an alarm went off. Maybe you heard dishes in the kitchen. Maybe a radio was already on somewhere in the house. You ate something quick, cereal, toast, whatever was there. No one asked what your plans were. You didn't have to explain. You just went outside. Bikes were already lying in front yards. Some leaned against fences. Some were dropped right in the grass. A baseball rolled slowly across the blacktop, still warm from the sun. Kids came from every house on the block, one by one, without knocking, without calling ahead. You didn't organize it. You didn't plan it. You just showed up. And somehow, everyone else did too. Every block had its own rhythm, its own quiet rules. You didn't learn them from adults. You learned them by watching. Who was older? Who got the first turn? Who waited? If you lost, you stepped back. If you won, you didn't make a big deal out of it. Nobody argued much. Fairness wasn't something you talked about, it was something you felt. The blacktop stayed warm under your sneakers. The sun stayed higher than you expected. And time didn't feel like something you were running out of. It felt like something that stayed, like it was waiting for you to finish whatever you were doing. And that's why the moment mattered so much. Because nothing else told us when to stop, until the streetlights did. By the time the sun climbed high, the block had settled into itself. Everyone knew who was out that day just by looking down the street. You could tell by the bikes, by the shoes kicked off on porches, by the sound of voices carrying between houses. No one announced anything. You didn't need to. Every block had rules, not written ones, not rules adults made, the kind you learned by paying attention. You knew who was older. You knew who had been there longer. You knew who decided the game without ever saying so. If you were younger, you waited. If you were older, you didn't brag about it. That was understood. If someone lost, they stepped aside without a fuss. If someone won, they stayed quiet and kept playing. Nobody kept score for long. Winning didn't matter as much as staying in the game. Arguments were rare, not because we were better kids, but because nobody wanted to be the reason the game stopped. If things got tense, someone just walked off for a minute, sat on the curb, leant against a fence, then came back when it passed. The block had its own clock. You didn't see it, but you felt it. The sun moved. Shadows slid across the sidewalk. The blacktop under your shoes stayed warm longer than it should have, and time felt wide. No one talked about being bored. If you got tired, you slowed down. If you didn't want to play, you watched. There was always a place for that. Nobody asked why. Adults were around, but they weren't hovering. You might see someone watering the lawn, sweeping a porch, standing in a doorway for a moment. They looked up, they nodded. Then they went back inside. That was enough supervision. The block belonged to us until it didn't, and we all understood when that change was coming. You could feel it before you saw it. The light shifted, the air cooled just a little, and something inside you started paying attention, because every day on the block ended the same way. Not suddenly, not loudly, but the same way it always had, and it was getting closer. Sometime in the late afternoon, the day began to change. Not all at once, not in a way you could point to, but you felt it. The sun wasn't as high anymore. It didn't press down the same way. The heat loosened its grip. The air moved again. A breeze came through the block and stayed longer than before. Shadows stretched out across the sidewalk. They crossed the street and reached the other side. You noticed them without thinking about it. Your body kept track before your mind did. The games didn't stop. They just slowed down. Running turned into standing around. Shouting turned into talking. Laughter came in shorter bursts. That was when someone always said it. Just one more. It didn't matter who said it. It could be anyone. The oldest kid, the youngest. Someone who hadn't spoken all afternoon. And every time everyone agreed. Not because the game was perfect, not because we were having the best time of our lives, but because leaving too early felt like a mistake. If you went inside too soon, the day was gone. You could feel that. Once you crossed that door, there was no going back out. Dinner would be ready. The TV would be on. Homework might come up. The outside world would close. So you stayed. Even if you were tired, even if you were just standing there watching, even if the game had already been decided. No one said it out loud, but we all knew. We were borrowing time. You could hear more things now. A screen door opening somewhere, dishes clinking inside a kitchen, a radio playing low in a house nearby, the sound of a lawnmower shutting off a block away. The neighborhood was getting ready for evening, even if we weren't. Adults showed up a little more now. Someone stood on a porch longer than before. Someone called a name, not to bring anyone in yet, just to check. A voice floated down the street. "Yeah," someone answered. And the game went on. The light kept changing. Colors softened. Everything looked warmer than it had an hour earlier. The street felt wider, quieter. You started to notice how long you'd been out. Your legs felt heavier. Your shirt stuck to your back. You wiped your hands on your jeans without realizing it. But you didn't want to stop, not yet, because this part of the day felt different. It felt like a line you didn't want to cross too soon. You looked down the street more often now, not on purpose. It just happened. Your eyes drifted that way between plays, between turns, between nothing at all. The corner felt important. The pole with the light on it stood there the same way it always had. Quiet, unnoticed, waiting. You didn't think about it directly, but something in you knew it was coming. This was the time when the game didn't end suddenly. It ended slowly, piece by piece. A few kids wandered off. Someone leaned their bike against a fence instead of riding it. Another kid sat on the curb and stayed there. No one said goodbye. No one made an announcement. The day was doing that part on its own. And all of us, whether we realized it or not, were watching the same thing. Waiting for the same signal. Because soon, very soon, the streetlight would flicker. And when it did, everything would change. It never happened all at once. That's the strange part. The moment we were waiting for didn't arrive with a sound. It didn't announce itself. The street light didn't turn on suddenly. It flickered, just once. Sometimes it went dark again. Sometimes it hesitated, like it wasn't sure yet. That pause mattered, because during that pause, everyone noticed. You could feel it ripple down the block, not like a wave, more like a quiet understanding passing from one kid to the next. No one shouted. No one stopped the game right away. We all kept moving, but slower. Watching, then the light stayed on. Soft, yellow, steady. That was it. You didn't need anyone to explain what that meant. You didn't need a warning. Every kid on the block understood the same thing at the same time. Someone always said it, not loud, not dramatic. They're on. Those words didn't sound important, but they carried weight. Nothing argued back. The game didn't protest. No one asked for more time. It was over, not ruined, not taken away. Finished. That difference mattered. The street didn't feel the same anymore. The space felt smaller. The sound changed. Even the air felt different. You noticed things you hadn't before. How quiet it suddenly was. How your breathing sounded louder. How the street light cast long shadows across the pavement. The light didn't feel harsh. It wasn't bright like daylight. It felt gentle, almost patient. Like it wasn't pushing us out. Like it was simply saying, "You've had enough for today." And we listened. Some kids stopped moving right away. Some finished to play. Some stood still, hands on hips, looking down the street. Nobody complained. Nobody begged. That never crossed our minds. The rules hadn't changed. They had just been completed. You bent down to pick things up. A glove, a ball, a bike tipped on its side. Dust clung to your hands. You wiped it off in your jeans. The same jeans you'd been wearing all day. You looked around, really looked. The block you'd owned all afternoon didn't belong to you anymore. It was giving itself back. Houses felt closer. Porches felt brighter. The street felt older. You noticed who was still there, who had already gone, who was walking toward home without saying anything. There was no ceremony, no goodbye, no ending speech. The moment didn't need one. You felt a quiet certainty, the kind that doesn't ask questions. This part of the day was finished, and for the first time all afternoon, you didn't fight that feeling. You accepted it. You took one more look down the block. Not because you were sad, not because you wanted to stay, but because you knew you wouldn't see it this way again until tomorrow, and tomorrow felt far away. After the light came on, everything moved more slowly, not because we were tired, because the day had already decided how it was going to end. Some kids left right away. They didn't say anything. They just turned and headed toward their houses like they'd done it 1,000 times before. Others stayed for a minute longer, not to play, just to be there. You gathered your things, a glove that didn't quite fit anymore, a ball with scuffed seams, a bike that had been dropped more times than you could count. You picked everything up without rushing. There was no reason to hurry now. Dust stuck to your hands. You wiped it off on your jeans. The same jeans you'd been wearing since morning. They felt heavier now, not dirty, just full. You looked down the block again. The street light glowed steady above it. Everything underneath that light felt smaller, closer. You noticed things you hadn't paid attention to all day. The cracks in the sidewalk, the way shadows pooled near the curb, the sound of someone calling a name from farther down the street. Walking home always felt longer, even if your house was close. Your sneakers sounded louder on the pavement. Each step landed with more weight than before. Porch lights were on now. one by one, some bright, some dim. All of them meant the same thing. Screen doors opened, screen doors slammed. The sound carried farther in the evening air. You could smell dinner, not just from your house, from everywhere. Meat cooking, something baking. A smell you couldn't see, but somehow knew exactly where it was coming from. Sometimes you walked alone, sometimes with someone who lived close by. You didn't talk much. There wasn't anything left to say. If someone did speak, it was something small. See you tomorrow. Yeah, that was enough. The block didn't feel empty yet, but it was getting there. Each house pulled its kids back inside, one door at a time. The world shrank with every step. You slowed down as you got closer to your place, not on purpose. Your body just did it. When you reached your door, you paused, just for a second. Not because you were sad, not because you wanted to stay outside, but because you didn't want to lose the feeling yet. The quiet, the warmth of the day still sitting on your skin. Inside, things were ready. Lights were on. Voices filled the rooms. The day had already moved on. But for that moment, standing there, you were still outside, still part of it. You stepped inside. The door closed behind you. And just like that, the block was gone. Years passed, not all at once, quietly, one season at a time. The games faded. The bikes disappeared from front yards. The block changed. New families moved in. Old ones moved out. Some houses looked the same, some didn't. We grew up without noticing exactly when it happened. One day you played, another day you watched, then one day you weren't there anymore. The street kept doing what it always did. Lights still came on, even when no kids were around to see them. Life filled in the space where afternoons used to be. School, work, responsibilities. Time stopped waiting, but that moment never left. Not the game, not the noise, the moment that ended the day. Years later, you'd be driving somewhere in the evening, stopped at a light, looking down a street you didn't recognize, and suddenly a street light would come on. Not one you remembered, not one from your block, just a street light, and something inside you would slow down. You wouldn't think about it right away. It wasn't a thought, it was a feeling, a familiar quiet, a sense of completion, like something had reached the right place to stop. You didn't miss the games, not really. You missed how the day used to end. No alarms, no notifications, no unfinished feeling, just a light turning on, telling you that it was enough. And somehow, even after everything else changed, your body still remembered what that meant. We didn't know we were making memories. We weren't trying to. We were just kids living inside a day that felt big enough to hold everything. No one told us to slow down. No one told us to pay attention. The moment didn't ask for that. It just happened. Every evening, the same way. The streetlights came on, and we went home. There was nothing dramatic about it, nothing sentimental at the time. It was ordinary, and that's why it stayed, because ordinary things were allowed to end properly. They didn't rush. They didn't demand more. They didn't leave you unfinished. They simply stopped when it was time. That's what the light did. It didn't take anything away. It gave the day a shape. And when the shape was complete, you stepped inside. Years later, you might not remember the score. You might not remember who won. You might not even remember who was there. But you remember this, the feeling of knowing exactly when something was done. And that feeling still matters, because life doesn't give it to us very often anymore. But every once in a while, when the evening is quiet, and the streetlight comes on. Something inside you slows, and for a brief moment, everything feels finished in the best possible way. That was enough then. And somehow, after all these years,